Hey peeps, it's Brandy. It's been a minute, but I found I had something to say. And I decided to show my face. So let's talk about it. I went back to school. I'm back in college. It starts tomorrow. But I decided that I'd get ahead of schedule and start doing some stuff today. So what brings me on here is that I'm doing I can't even remember the class. I think it's like human rights or something. So I had to watch this video about this guy, and his name is Jean-Jacques Rousseau, or should I say Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Anyway, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. This guy, he was from back in the 1700s. He said that people evolved by being basically envious of other people, and I was like, you just showed me people who were like looking like primates, okay, like gorillas. And then you know how they show you that thing where they evolve from like gorilla to like, and then it's like four steps until it's supposed to be like modern man, right? So I'm like, it got me thinking. There was a dream, like this dream was so intense. I wrote it down, and for the life of me, I can't remember where I wrote it. I can't remember what I did with it. I just know that I wrote it down. And so in this dream, and trigger alert, because for some people this might just be too much. Just too much, okay? But in the dream, there was darkness. And in the dark was a tiny speck of light. And as millennia went, the consciousness that I felt realized that it was not the only consciousness that was there. And this is hundreds of millennia, okay? And so as it became like they didn't speak, like I got some confirmation over here, my phone going off. They didn't speak, they didn't talk, but after a while they begin to be able to communicate with each other. Basically, telepathic communication is what it is, I'm saying. So they are, there's a lot of them. After a while, there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all in the dark. And so now there's this one that I seem to be connected with. And this one is realizing, that they're in the dark and they're comfortable in the dark. But this one, she, I'm just giving her a gender. I'm just giving it to her because I feel like it's me. Okay. So she is curious about that light all the way over there. Like, what is that? That's what she's focusing on. What is that light? Let me, I'm not used to having this microphone. Like, I'm trying to do better, but I just want to make sure you can hear me. So she's like focused, like uber focused on what is this light, because she's realizing that it's a little bit bigger. It wasn't that big. Now, the ones around her, they don't care about that. They have each other. Like, why? They're kind of like, why are you paying attention to this? But again, even though they're communicating telepathically, they're just beings. Not even quite, well, maybe a life form, a type of life form, but they're just hanging around in the dark and multiplying. They're multiplying. There was one. It was like first there was one, and then there was two, and then there was four. But there's no numbers. And so just a consciousness understanding that it is no longer just that one in that darkness. And the darkness is calm. There's no hot, there's no cold, no, there's not much of anything but that spot. And so they don't really care, but this one is like, they don't have emotions just quite yet, but they are learning. They are actually learning from each other, and the fact that the one that noticed the spot and basically pointed out the spot learned curiosity. Curiosity is first there was darkness, then there was awareness, and then there was curiosity. So millennia, lots of millennia go past, and they're evolving because there was curiosity before there was the ability to communicate or the known ability to communicate. And so they are this was a while ago, so I'm trying to think back on it because like I said, I wrote it down and I have no idea what I did with it. I do that. I write something, I'm like, oh, write this down. And then I mean, I told it to like two people. They were like, that's deep. That's really deep. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. So where was I at? So first there was the one, and then there was awareness. Did I say it was awareness? Yeah, awareness. And then there was curiosity. And then there was the ability to communicate. And so, um, she's many millennia has gone past. And I mean, in between the consciousness, the awareness, there's like millennia. Like, I don't even know what the word is above millennia. Like, but I'm just gonna say because most people understand the word millennia, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of millennia in between. So over time, they become more aware of stuff. They actually, not the one that originally noticed, not the original one, okay? But they see it or they understand that it's there because it's different from the dark and it's getting bigger or closer. And she's like, but what about that? And they're like, we're good. We're good over here in our dark. We're good. Okay. We don't want no parts of that. But she's like, but I really, really want to know what that is. And there's another one, a smaller one, and that one is kind of following her lead. And yeah, what is that? They know fear now. They know fear. They're in denial about it coming closer. There's like all of these things and it took a long time for them to even get to this point. They still don't have bodies, okay? But they are a consciousness, and there are a lot of them, and they are fearful of this light coming closer, of this unknown thing, because this This right here is what it is that they have. This. Why aren't you satisfied with this? We have this. Sorry about the camera just shaking. I'm sitting on my bed. And so, yeah, and they're kind of like, we have this. Why aren't you satisfied with this? And the original one is like, well, okay, let me try to be satisfied with this. What is that called? That is pleasing someone else. Like, and that was one of the things that was originally there. Okay. The need to put what it is that you want on the back burner to do what the majority is doing. But as time went on, millennia passed, and while they're happy-go-lucky in the darkness, the light is calling the other one because it's getting closer. And once again, we get back to this light. And eventually, the light is close enough where she's like, they're like, you stay with us. Don't go over there. We're supposed to be here. This is our place right here. This is the safe place, basically. And she's like, no, I'm gonna go over there and find out what's over there, and I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna let you know what's going on over there in that light. Okay? And so they try to stop her. They try to keep her from doing what it is that she's basically being called to and called to do. And so she's like, okay, I kind of I know all you guys. Like, you all of the things that I wanted to know, you guys already told me all about you. Now I need to know what's going on over there. What is that light? And so she starts to, and she's never moved before, but now she's moving with purpose towards the light. And they're scared and they're trying to keep her from going. And they're moving because they see that she's moving. And so now they've learned how to move. And they're basically pleading with her, like, don't go, don't go. Why are you going? And she's just like, yeah, yeah, okay, I hear you. I'm going over there. I'll let you know what's going on. I'll keep in touch. Keep in touch. I'll call you. Call you, okay? I'll call you. And so she's like, she goes into the light. And when she goes into the light, immediately she gains a body. Now, she didn't have physical form before, but she went into the light, and now she has a corporal form. Not not necessarily flesh and blood, but she discovers something. One, the little one who was following her followed her into the light, but not yet. She's immediately warm. It's the first time she's ever felt warm. Okay? She's in a place and it's beautiful. It's and she's discovered what something means to be, and to us, physically beautiful. And there's trees and there's flowers and there's all kinds of things walking around. And they're not like her. They were already there. They're not like her. But there's nothing else like her until the little one comes in through the light. Through, basically, I feel like it's a portal. They came through a portal and they landed on what I would consider to be Earth, the Garden of Eden. I'm not I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But this place, it had animals. And she could still hear the ones in the dark. And they were scared. But when she tried to go back to tell them, what it is that she sees, she couldn't go back. She had a form. She couldn't go back. And as the days were going on, she became more of a solid, like a body. She obtained a body. She still had the ability to talk to the ones in dark, but she obtained a body. And she started exploring because she couldn't, it was light all the time, non-stop daylight. It was beautiful. There were flowers and trees and animals. Okay? And these things, she studied them. And the little one, who now had a body as well, followed her from place to place. And all the time, they could still talk to the ones in the dark, but they couldn't go back. And there were some who were in the dark who were intrigued that they had a form, that there was this other place, that there was no darkness. And they, but they were scared to come through the portal. They were scared to come through. And she's just like, oh, it's beautiful. They, they want for nothing, but they wanted for nothing in the dark. But she can feel warmth. But you didn't need to feel warm in the dark. And she's like, but there's other things here. And they were like, there were other things here. Us in the dark. So the two of them explored millennia. They were there with the animals, just watching, paying attention. And over time, they also began to realize that there were things that they could do. There were things that they could manipulate where they were. And it was what I would call a type of energy manipulation, kind of like Avatar, Last Airbender type of thing, but more. Not just earth, wind, air, fire, more. Let's add ether to that. More. Because I feel like they were in the dark. They had no corporal forms, but they had consciousness. Okay? So, I don't know how long this has been going on already. I didn't put the time on here or anything. I'm just like talking. If I cut off, my bad. But so millennia, hundreds of millennia go past, and it's just the two of them and the animals, and everything is functioning the way it's supposed to function because this is a place where it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And so, in its perfect way, there's no wants, no needs. Everything is pleasurable in its own way. They don't eat. like we eat as humans. They don't eat. They don't need to eat. And that's gonna be something later on. I realized that they didn't eat for millennia. They were energy beings, but they had corporal bodies, and their energy was actually keeping their bodies doing what it did. But the animals ate. I got another phone going off again. So what's that confirmation? Anyway, the animals ate. So as I was saying, hundreds of thousands, millennia. They've been there, pretty much the two of them, and the animals. And they are, they can still hear the others. And some of them are like, well, I want to come. I want to see. And they're like, come on, just, just do it. Just go into the light. And they're like, but they're scared. And then eventually some of them start coming through. And immediately they form bodies that they never had. They feel sensations that they've never felt. And they are fearful of the big beasts, the animals. But the animals don't do anything to them. They don't try to harm them. They don't have any malice in them. They just basically do what they're there to do. And then the millennia after that of them watching, now the first one and the little one, who did get a little bigger? She grew. And from what it is that I'm getting, when they get their forms, they're all females at first. Okay. And so the little one, she's she just kind of tags along. She's like, while she's studying the animals with the first one, she's also studying the first one. And the first one is like, you know, uh, come on. And she's showing them because they've been there so long. They know the ins and outs. She's just showing them all of the things, and they pick up the grass and like pick up pieces of grass. They see the animals eating the grass, and they try to taste the grass, and she's like, no, no, we don't do that. They do that. We don't do that. And it's like, oh, okay. So what do we do? Observe. The problem is, and of course there becomes a problem, and this has to do with what Jean-Jacques Rousseau, what he was talking about. In this dream, eventually, because they have nothing to do. Now, they had nothing to do in the dark, really. They just kind of were. But now they have all of these sensations, and they're mimicking the animals because, well, they were there first. And I mean, she's telling them, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. And so, next thing you know, there's more of them. They're all females. But you know how I know at least some of you have heard at some point that females don't need males to procreate. But the thing is that they didn't give birth through their form. They just, the animals had smaller versions of them, and they didn't understand why they didn't have smaller versions of them. And the animals' smaller versions, they got bigger, and so theirs got bigger. Because basically what they're doing, remember I told you, I was going to say remember, remember I told you, they are able to manipulate energy. They are literally what we would call manifesting children. Now, again, they're watching the animals. And for the animals, there are at this point male and female, but they're all female. Now they're watching them do everything. They're watching them mate, they're watching them eat, they're watching them um, um, relieve their bodies of waste. Their bodies don't do that. It's one thing to create a being from you, but it was a whole nother thing to start eating and creating a male version of you. You didn't need to do that. All they needed to do, they wanted to multiply. They just had to think it. They didn't have to do any of the things that the animals did. That's what the animals did. They weren't the animals. They weren't supposed to be the animals. Well, when they started eating and defecating and uh creating beings from them that were, and I know a lot of guys gonna be like, what the fuck, Brandy? But started creating beings who were, what's the word I'm looking for? In the beginning, there were females, and the male DNA is a defective gene. It's the female DNA, but it's defective. As a matter of fact, all fetuses are female in the beginning, and somewhere along the line in the womb, they change gender to create males. Not trying to get on the guys, but so in the dream, once they started becoming acting like animals, they began being treated more like animals. And so therefore, they, I'm not going to say were punished because I can't remember exactly if it was all of that or I think it was when they started eating the, eating food when they stopped having nonstop daylight. They started having night. And baby, when I tell you they were cold, they had never experienced cold. But they had been around those animals long enough where the animals accepted them as part of their packs. So they don't they don't eat animals. I think they may have killed an animal and ate the animal. I think that's what it was. It has something to do with eating. It I whatever they did, they messed up the balance and they started eating flesh. And so I want to say God, but let's really just say source because they only knew about themselves. There was no knowledge of any other beings until they went through the light. Now, not all of them went through the light. Some of them stayed behind. Um, but a great deal of them did go through the light. And like I said, I felt as though the light was a portal. They began procreating because the animals were doing that. They began eating because the animals were doing that. They began having sex and procreating that way, which was not a way that they needed to do. But the animals were doing that. Now, all of these things are sensations to them. Like they are like extra sensitive to everything. And everything feels wonderful. Everything is blissfully fantastic. And so every little touch, every little smell, everything is bright and vibrant because they have these brand new these brand new eyes. Like they never actually saw anything through eyes, just sensed things because well, they were what I would consider to be energy beings. So I don't know how long I've been going. I feel like I gotta check. Like, where's the timer? Let's see if I can get the timer to come up here because yeah, I really feel like I'm running out of time because your girl didn't pay for her whatchamacallit, so yeah. Um, I don't even know what else to say. Well, there's more to it than that, but I think I'm gonna leave it there for now and maybe do a second part to this. My nose is itching. Maybe do a second part to this. Quick fact. Did you know that when a male lies, the tip of their nose itch, and so every time they are lying, they have a tendency to be like rubbing their nose or touching their nose, and that's yeah. I'm not messing with you guys. I'm not messing with the male folks. I'm just saying quick fact, quick documented fact. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it there for now. But oh, I will say that when they did experience cold, when they had that night, they were terrified. Of course, they were terrified. They had never seen darkness there, only where they were. And the original one and the little one had been there for thousands of millennia and never, ever had it gotten dark. And so now they're trying to figure out why. Why is it dark? But they have a knowing too. Remember, they were in the dark and then they just became conscious. Okay? They became conscious of what was around them. What, like they were just kind of like in the ether. They were just there in the dark, just I don't want to say floating. They were just there. And they started to, I believe they started to procreate like there. And that's why there was one, and then there was two, and then there was four. Like she became conscious of others being around. Okay? I'm not saying that she was the oldest one or even the original one. But what I'm saying is that she became conscious of others. Yeah. I'm gonna let it go at that. I'll just leave it at that. And just, we maybe come back for a part two. Maybe. All right, peeps. Have a good one.